So I see it here, but it says unavailable or premium. Learn about more our premium meeting tools. So that's okay. We'll tell our professor about it. But
we'll look into all that later, yeah. So the next one, you'll have it under.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you.
A lot of trial and error right now. So thank you for being patient. We appreciate it.
I've been there. We understand completely.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I can maybe start off, then we can go over Heather.
Yeah.
Okay. So, this session that we're currently doing is all about your early life. I'm sure that you read the questions. So we'll literally just go in order, chronological order. So, we're gonna say out the questions for sake of the transcript. So, the first question being, when and where were you born, and can you describe what your childhood was like growing up?
In 2 minutes or less. Right? Okay, I was born in a very small pueblo village in Mexico. Mm-hmm. And my mom brought me over when I was very young. Grew up in Boyle Heights, that's near East LA, Los Angeles, California. Mm-hmm. And was a single mom for the longest time. And I would consider my childhood, but I went to Catholic school all my life. So it was very sheltered, naive. And then you go to college, right? And the world opens up. But it was good, I think so. And it makes me it made me, when I would go back to visit my grandparents, it made me appreciate running water, electricity, because in my pueblo, my little village where I was born, there was no water. You would go to the river and get the cántaros de agua. Mm-hmm. And there was no electricity, so you had the petroleum little lamps. And then, worst of all, no bathrooms. And when I would go, I go, so where would I go? And they go, over there with the little pigs. I go, it's like, But now, of course, now it's 70 years later, of course, now they have electricity and everything. But it made me really appreciate, having a refrigerator. Just little things like that. So to me, everything was a blessing. Everything was, I'm happy we have TV or what have you, Mm-hmm. So that's my attitude as far as growing up. And my mom was definitely very influential in my life. When she would say jump, I would say how high. But now as a woman, it's a different story. Okay, but I'm talking about the childhood, yes. Yeah, that's the first question. That's basically it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Thank you.
And describe my family. Mm-hmm. So I had 4 brothers and 4 sisters. And we're very much, very united for the most part. My other brother went back a year before me. He also went to St. Mary's, fell in love with the Bay Area, and he stayed up there. He's still up there in Oakland. Knows that I go visit him. And that's when I went to go see St. Mary's about a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. And it really has grown. St. Mary's, I'll talk about that with St. Mary's later, but it was like, bottom line, like I told you before, we had cows back there in the hills. Like 1970 when I first got there. And so we would take care of each other because my mom was always at work. But as far as other caretakers, we had like tios and tias that would come over from Mexico and be with us for a while. And then they would transition on to their own lives. Yeah. So 4 brothers and 4 sisters, very, very close to each other. Mm-hmm. Because we only had each other because my mom worked sometimes 2 jobs.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Uh-huh. And how did my family shape my values and personality? Yes. I would say my mother, in other words, like I said before, I didn't know I was poor until I went to St. Mary's because, over here we all live in the same neighborhood. But what my mom always said is, even though we don't have a lot of money, always be clean. And we always had our clothes ironed, So even to this day, when I see my grandsons or anyone with t-shirts, I'm like, guys, but it just always be neat because you're always an expression. Who you are is expressed not by the way you dress. In other words, I don't need to have $200 jeans, but I need to have clean jeans. And then like the fun part to me, I tell my grandson, it's like even my daughter, she's 44. I go, Mija, your jeans are torn. Your jeans are torn. I go, no. And when my mother, when she first saw them, because back to the values, she said, bring me a needle and thread, I'll sew them for you. Pero todo en español. Okay, and my early childhood, so my first 5 years were totally in Spanish. And then when I went to kindergarten, talk about another culture shock, I didn't understand what they were saying because we didn't have a TV. before then. So I didn't really hear English. And so I was like the quietest person in kindergarten. I just always remember just looking down and seeing the kindergarten teacher's shoes. So I said, about kindergarten, that's what I remember. But I somehow, some way, I made it through and took it from there. So the values is always to be honest and, working class and just to do your best and whatever you could do. Because my mom always I was doing chores. So that was, so that's how that shaped my personality. Unless you want to ask the questions and I answer them.
We can do that. Do you want to?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So for the next one, just for the transcript, how did your upbringing shape your? Oh, I think we already talked about this a little bit, but also if you want to add anything else about your outlook on life.
Right. The thing that I remember the most is my mother always instilled in us the beauty of hard work, and we have a great work ethic. We always had tasks to do, jobs to do, and the worst thing you can do is be lazy. And so whatever you do it well. And that's what she did because, she only had like a third grade education back in Mexico because back then, the girl's not supposed to go to school. They're going to just get married and the whole thing. So, but considering that she did not have a strong background in education, she knew that she wanted the best for us. And that's why she put us in Catholic school. I don't know how she paid all that tuition. Then that's why they gave us a group rate. But she instilled the value of hard work. This day, we'll get it done. We get things done. And that's one of the most important things that I remember about my personality. And I like the values about being honest. Sometimes it was a detriment to me because I was too honest, where everybody else was like, you can, not that you can cheat, but you can, like say the Cliff Notes, do you know what Cliff Notes are? Okay. You could do the Cliff Notes. I go, no, I got to read the whole book, that kind of stuff. So it just, and my outlook in life, I've always had a positive outlook in life. I think because of my neighborhood where I grew up, we all knew each other and it was a very Latino neighborhood. And we always had the nuns and the Christian ethic of doing the right thing. So that's why my outlook and to this day, it's still very positive. I see the water in the glass. I see it half full, not half empty. A lot of times, in reality, the glass is half empty, and I have to always remember that, see the other perspective. But I choose to always go a little bit higher. Okay, it's half empty, so let's fill it up. Let's do what can we do, and I'm a go-getter, and that's me. Yep.
Awesome. Do you want to ask the next one, Alyssa?
Sure. Okay, so the next question is, were there any defining moments in your early life that changed the way you saw yourself or the world around you?
In my early life, I thought about that. So I can tell you more like in a teenage life, but what happened in my early life, going to Catholic school with the nuns, I wanted to become a nun. And because all the nuns I knew were teachers, and I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I was going to be a nun. Then puberty came about. Like, never mind. Those poor priests would not have a chance for me. So, but I did think about that question. What did define me or change my life was my mother is always a fighter. She always, by her, but I don't mean a negative fighter. She would stand up for it, justice. So when she was working down here in LA, she was working midnight, about 12 a.m. to 10 a.m. And so there, because they were Spanish speaking, because my mom, she wasn't a citizen yet, they would take advantage of the workers, right? So, like my mom was speaking up give us a 10-minute bathroom break. Now, my mom had known everything else, that there's not just 10, you have 15, and you have 2, and you have a full hour lunch or half an hour, whatever. But even back then, she was speaking up, and it was with the Teamsters. So I remember, again, because my mom was always Spanish speaking, she still is, I was the translator. So there I go. I remember being like 15 or 16 years old, going into this union meeting with these guys, big old, Teamsters guys, and I'm translating what my mom is saying and the conditions in which they were working. They would be standing in water because they were rinsing out the potatoes to pack them and what have you. And it was just not, they were not good conditions. So I was doing all that, and it's like, oh my God. They're looking at my mother like, yeah, she's a woman. So we're talking the 1960s here, right? Before you were born. And and I go, oh my God, this is important. My mother is doing something courageous, and she's standing up for her fellow workers. And by the way, they made her pay for it later, because when they would put her there, they had they would clean the potatoes like with chlorine, but it was like a tank, water chlorine, and she had been there, and they put so much chlorine that it would mess up her sinuses. But they were trying to get her to quit. My mother is the stubbornest woman in the world. She's still alive. She's going to be 101 in April.
Wow.
Yeah, and she was not going to quit. She would come home still, con las streaming, like los mocos corriendo, and it was really bad. But I go, this woman is determined. And that's what she also, by example, taught me. And that's what I do remember. That really changed my outlook in the world, that one. But it was not the little one, but that was when I was able to speak up.
Wow.
Okay.
Next question. Were there any... growing up, can you share some of the first experiences you and or your family had with social or racial injustice?
I cannot think of any really, not really, because we were like in everything all together. I was trying to think. No, so I personally did not growing up. No. The racial injustice, because again, we were in school, and Catholic schools teach kindness, love your neighbor. I did not. And then we didn't have a car, so we would walk wherever. And I remember like going to the library, and an African American woman, the librarian, helped me, and I love reading since then. I love libraries, I love bookstores, and it's always been good. And when I grew up in Boyle Heights, we had a good diversity of people. We had Russians, Jews, Japanese, Italians, Latinos, and so it was people who were getting along because we were all basically in the same socioeconomic boat, shall we say so. So it worked. So not until high school. High school, then we go back again. And I remember I was in student body, ASB, right? And I remember I was the vice president of my class. And one of the teachers, a nun, was belittling us and saying, like, you Latina, because most went to Latina high school, you Latinas aren't smart, you're just going to go graduate and have a baby, what have you, right? And that because we weren't answering her questions the way she wanted, Sister Stephanie. So I stood up. I raised my hand. I go, I have to go ahead. I thought about my mom again. Okay, And so then I spoke up and I said, you are being mean to us. I forget exactly what I said, but back in those days, you did not speak up against a nun. You were, and after, she threw me out of the class. I went to the office. I go, I can cuss. Oh, no, you're recording me. So I said, I'm in trouble now. The principal's going to kill me. They're going to call my mom, because they always do. Then my mom's going to kill me. And, I'm going to be dead. That's it. But I felt that I had to speak up. Because, the other ladies in my class, they wanted to, but they, you just couldn't do that. And I said, you know what? I'm going to risk everything. I'm going to go for it. This is wrong what she's doing. Instead of encouraging us, asking the question. And she was kind of saying, you're all dumb. And I go, oh, hell no. So that's what I remember speaking up there. But that was the only really thing. And then I became a teacher. And within there, as an adult, I would see the little racism of how they would treat the students. And they wouldn't say anything to my face. Because first of all, they say, oh, you don't look like a regular Latina with, dark brown skin and the whole thing. Because I've always had red hair when I was growing up. So I've always had red hair. So that I saw more racism and injustice growing up. I mean, not growing up, but as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
So then for the next one, were there any dreams or aspirations you had as a child that changed as you grew up, and what influenced those changes?
Right. I thought about that. Well, I've always wanted to be a teacher. And then when I was in high school, like a tutor to one of our neighboring schools, and I saw how a lot of the kids, our little chicanitos, were struggling. And I said, no, that's what I want. I want them to feel the confidence, because when I was going to school, I had the same thing, because the teacher was not able to connect with me. So that influenced me when I saw the other kids, and then my summer jobs was also working with, summer, not camp, but summer school, what have you. And that's when I knew I want to make a change. I want to have these students believe in themselves, trust themselves that they can do it. Don't let anyone tell you can't do it. Yes, it's going to be hard, but with hard work, you can do it. So that influenced me. So my dreams was always to be a teacher, and it was easy for me to just stick to my plan. And I was, and I went for that. I became a teacher. I got my master's. I was very proud of myself. I was a teacher for 40 years, and to this day, I still go and volunteer at the school really close by, because I just love being around the kids. And then, like, when they hear me, and then if I say, mijo, let's do this, and they go, ¿hablas español? Like, claro, the whole thing. And then they feel comfortable. Then they see me speaking with their parents. Mm-hmm. Again, the community together. I just like that. Again, just helping the kids feel good about themselves, that they can do it. And then when they say they want to be an astronaut, I go, you can do it. You can do it. Mm-hmm. And the girl said, I want to be the first president. I go, oh my God, remember me. Remember me when you're president. Things like that. We have a good time. So, yeah. So my aspirations have always been the same. I've always been a very focused person. And, sometimes it's good to just be spontaneous, but I knew what I wanted, and I knew I had to work. And again, when we go to St. Mary's thing, being the first generation, the first person in my family to go to college, mm-hmm. I didn't realize how much pressure it was, but I was a trailblazer in many, many ways, mm-hmm. without me even knowing I was doing that until after it happened, and they tell me, I go, oh, that's right, okay. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
Okay. So the next question is, why did you decide to come to St. Mary's, and what was the decision process like to come here?
Okay, good question. It was first of all, when I was in high school, I was in the college prep classes, but I didn't really know what college was. I didn't have anybody in my family, because most of my family wasn't still in Mexico. I didn't know what it meant to go to college, what's going to happen. And I didn't really apply to a lot of colleges. What happened is my English teacher, her brother-in-law was St. Mary's College recruitment officer. Okay, so then, and I was senior class president at the time. Before that, I was a cheerleader, just different things. I was in sports, what have you. So then she goes, you're going to college, right? I'm like, oh, what do you mean? I like, what do you mean by college? I didn't know the word university or college. And so she said, you're going to college. And then then we went, her husband took a group of us girls up to St. Mary's College. What was interesting about this one is that at that time, 1970, they opened up the college, St. Mary's College, because it was an all-guys school before. They opened it up to us, to women, I mean. And so we were going to be the first class coming in. I was going to be one of 100 girls coming in. So that was another culture shock. I'll talk about that. But that's what, and of course they accepted me. And most importantly, what decision process was that? So then I told my mom about it, and for her to let me go, even up north, because she would have let me go like overnight parties, like the summer parties. Mm-hmm. No, because very protected. But to go because it was a school, she let me go, and it was all girls. We had a great time. Saw San Francisco, the whole thing. So the decision was, it's like, we had a small house, but it's going to sound terrible, but I wanted to get away from home. You know what I mean? We had all these brothers and sisters. I never had my own room. Okay, of course I had my roommate, but it was at least one person instead of a lot of us. So that's why I wanted just to get away. And I was working down here in the music center, and I was being exposed to a lot of arts, music, theater, and my world was opening up. And I said, I want to go. I just want to go away. And I remember my other two friends, the three of us were accepted. We actually took the train from Union Station, took the train up to St. Mary's, and one of the guys picked us up and then took us to St. Mary's, and we're like, where are we? But that's what, so basically I did everything on my own. But thanks to that teacher who told me about St. Mary's. Because also down here is Cathedral High School, which is also a Christian Brothers School. Okay. So then they, it was kind of like a tunneling thing. So I was very humbled that they would choose me to go up, to go ahead and apply. And I said, okay. And then I was very surprised that I did apply. I mean, that I did get accepted. And but then again, it was like, how was I going to pay for it? My mom barely had enough, to feed us and what have you. So they gave me $1,000 scholarship. Of course, I got $1,000 loan, and work study was $1,000. Back then, it was $3,000.
Wow.
But don't forget, the minimum wage was $1.65. Okay.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of money. But yeah, I was able to do it, and I did it all on my own without having to burden my mom with anything because it was just too much. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh. But that was what really made it that I just wanted to get away from home, and because I was seeing that the world was opening up to me, mm-hmm. and just wanted to try college. Yeah, it sounded exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, is there anything else? We have some other questions that we can ask too, but is there anything else that you wanted to add about your early life?
Mm-hmm. Well, I just the whole thing about coming to this country and just acclimating myself to everything and the family. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Gives me a perspective of how people are, and like you, Jillian, right? I've been traveling. I love to travel, mm-hmm. and no matter where you go, they're the same kind of people. You're gonna have nice people, grumpy people, mean people. No matter where you're in India or Australia. So yeah, I like to travel, but that's what makes me want to share. Okay, we have time. Do you have more questions?
I do have a question just from what you were saying. Where do you fall in your? Because I know you said you had 4 sisters and 4 brothers. So I'm just curious to know, like, where do you fall?
In the middle. I had 3 older siblings, mm-hmm. and then there's me, mm-hmm. and then I have 4. Yeah. Let me see. 4 younger ones, yeah. One of my older brothers, he got run over by a director down Sunset Boulevard because we live in Bunker Hill by Union Station. So he was gone. But then, so I'm in the middle. Mm-hmm. So I had 1 older sister and 1 older brother, mm-hmm. and then the rest. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you feel that influenced your life growing up? Did you feel like you took on a natural role to lead the younger ones, or because you fell in the middle, it was more so you didn't feel that way?
Mm-hmm. Good question. See, that's a good one. Well, like my sister graduated and then she got married. So when I was in that senior year, the summer, mm-hmm. when you're going to go to college, I go, gosh, because I did have a boyfriend. I go, gosh, you know what? My sister has an apartment. I want to do the Donna Reed thing. I want to be a housewife. I want to do this and that. And so it was really appealing. So no, but then I decided, no, I want to go away. I have to go away. Mm-hmm. And my other brother went into the Air Force. So you're right. So by that time, but then by me going away, I was being a big sister. I was being a leader, and they still look up to me, mm-hmm. without me knowing. I didn't even know that I was leading them or being I was a big sister, but being a role model, mm-hmm. I guess is what I'm saying. But I guess I did it subconsciously.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or by osmosis.
Yeah.
If you have time for another question.
Yes, we're good. We have 9 good minutes.
Okay, great. I know you mentioned your mom as well, how you said she would say jump and you would say how high, but we're also curious, did you have any other role models growing up at all that you looked up to?
At home, not really at home. more like my teachers. Yeah, because I had my mom. My older sister, like I said, but she was living in her own life there, her own life then. No more the teachers. I got really attached to them. I love books. I love being in the academic world. There's so much you can do, and so just seeing the teachers. I think. And then, of course, now as a teacher, as an adult, my principles are different than other people. But yeah.
I do have another follow-up question from one of the things that you said earlier. How did you, because you said that like in high school you did experience, that's kind of when you realized like the power of race, and like when that sister was talking to you, how did you, at such a young age, you said I think you were 15, how did you not internalize what she was saying, that it was true? Like, you're not smart, you're not meant to, be leaders or to be educated. That's such a big concept for someone that's so young, and it's just so many formative years. That how did you work to not internalize that? Was that something that you worked through yourself, or maybe something that like your mom reminded you of?
Good question. I was 17 because I was a junior.
Okay.
I think I was building up the confidence, being a student leader, and doing a lot of things. I was doing a lot of changes within the school. Another, rebellious, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I just wanted to, bring up the school to different things. I did different changes. For example, our class, by me being president, we were the first class to have a hardcover annual. Simple as that, but before they looked like, magazines. So just making changes. So I was always making change for the better. And I do not like the glory. I do not like the spotlight. Okay, I have a dinner this Saturday where they're going to honor me, not just me, but the people. And I respectfully said, do you mind if I decline? I'm really out of respect. They didn't let me. Oh man, anyway, but the same thing. So I wasn't. What I'm saying is that when I was doing these things in high school or throughout my whole life, I don't do it because look at me, look what I can do. I like people that know me, value me, and that's important. The personal touch. I do not like the spotlight. I was extremely shy. Again, there's a lot of things in English that I did not understand. Things like break a leg. I'm like, I don't get it. You're up on stage. Why do you want to break a leg? That's why I took English as my major, to understand more the whole concept of things. So, to answer your question, how did I know that? I think maybe always, being in a large family, you stand up for yourself. But yeah, I guess with that experience with my mom, maybe because that happened maybe when I was a sophomore, and then my experience at school. Because before it was, the nuns are always right.
Yeah.
Like my other sister got in trouble also, the younger one. My mom actually went to school with a belt right here. Okay, I'm going to discipline my daughter in front of you nuns, because you don't mess with nuns. Yeah. It was a big challenge. You're right. I took my life in my hands. Yes. It was, but at the same time, it showed me the power of speaking up. That we do have a voice, and but I guess also because my father was abusive, and my mother was, because she was speaking up here. Because in Mexico, whatever the man said, that was it. That was the law, right? And he would tell him that. That's why my mom also escaped over here to the country. And so he goes, no, you're not going to abuse me anymore. You're not going to treat me bad. And so I would see that growing up. That's a good point. Maybe that's where I started saying, no, I'll take whatever else society can give us, but do not put somebody down. And I think it built my self-confidence, because I think when I was very young, I did not have that self-confidence. I was always like a step behind, struggling, trying to catch up. I didn't think I was smart, but then people were telling me, you're smart. I go, okay, let's do it. So, I think because, you're right, because maybe that's that experience with my mom, maybe that was fresh in my mind. Because I didn't see that, like you said, I didn't see all these other things going on. Like, say if I was working in the fields as a farm worker, and I would see the mistreatment, didn't see that. But I just was not going to take any verbal abuse. And to this day, I still stand up. And I got in trouble. Like, okay, but I go, no, you can't do that. No, these are people. We're all human beings, no matter where we are.
Yeah, I love that.
Allison, you haven't asked me a question yet.
I actually was going to ask you, where in Mexico are you from? Were you born?
Jalisco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, northern Jalisco. Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel really fortunate to be able to say that I was born in Mexico and I soy mexicana, but I was here, so I'm also American, so I have the best of both worlds, and that's how I see it. And I'm very, very proud, and just very proud of being Mexican. But my mom did not instill it in us, maybe because whatever was going on, So I mean, she did not. In other words, she didn't know about all of like the ethnic studies, not learned about our great civilizations that we had in Mexico, the Mayan, the Aztecs, the Toltecs, and the astronomy. And what? And our ¿cómo se llaman los que están corriendo? The talameras, the ones that can run for 3 days. The indigenous people, and just all the different herbs and all the injustices that were done to them. I don't think my mom knew about that because she didn't finish going to school, right? But then we learned about it, just like when we learned here about the Native Americans, how bad they were treated, and how the United States never kept a single treaty that they made with them. And they didn't teach us that in school, So then now, when I would teach as a teacher, I would say Columbus did not discover America. America was already here. People, we just couldn't get into it without getting in trouble. But I got in trouble. But yeah, so that's Jalisco, Mexico, and I do go back. And I still have some relatives there, but they're all slowly dying. My mom is the last one I think in the village that's still alive. That's that old.
Wow.
And I'm stubborn. Okay. The question is my young life. But you're right, I think it did shape it. The Christian outlook, the Catholic, that's one thing that I can say. Throughout my life, it's always going to be rough, ups and downs, right? Hills and mountains. Whenever it's been a rough time, because I also went through a divorce, and that was like a rough time. So, whenever it's been a low in my life, I've always been able to go back to my faith. I'm not one of these, strong Catholics that go to church every Sunday and, novenas and, but the faith is there. In other words, I'm never, ever alone. I know that God, she, is always looking out for me. I go, wait a minute, think about it. Who's the nucleus of your family? Your mom. Who do you go to? Your mom. When the mom, where are my socks? Or the husband, honey, where did I leave my jacket? Okay, come on, everybody. So it stands to reason, because God is all powerful. I say, you know what? God can be a woman too. And I saw a movie one time where the lights shining on, and then you hear one woman's voice and one man's voice. And they go, who are you, God? I go, I love it. I love the concept. And I just let myself go with it. So yeah. But that I think has helped me throughout my whole life. I'll come back to that. Because that has helped me to, no matter what obstacle it is. For you, a little guardian angel here or over there, whatever. But yeah, always. Forget about it. And I accept people as they are. When I was young, I was like so judgmental. I would be like, why are they doing that? What's wrong with? Now it's like, you know what? People are people, and now I know there's people on the spectrum that they can't help themselves. They're speaking that way, but it's not really who they are, but it's just how they're trying to cope with life. I think with time and there's a lot more.
Amazing. Well, we do want to respect your time. I know it's 5, but thank you. Is there anything else you guys want to add?
They know I already told them I'm going to be a little late. That's good. Yeah.
No,
I'm very much involved in community things.
That's
I
awesome.
love helping people. Just helping. It brings me joy. And I'm retired now. I've been retired since 2012.
Oh, wow.
And my family tells me, when are you going to really retire, Mom? I was so because I go now before I would work, hey, now I work for free. They tell me I'm retired, but I just like being involved, and there's always issues taking place, and and we have to speak up and show solidarity.
Well, it's very inspiring that that you still do that and you're so involved. I have to say, it's very inspiring to see that it's like a continuous thing. Like, we start at a young age and we're active and we're passionate about these issues, and that it follows, because it's super important to have perspective and like life experience that you bring as well. So that's incredibly inspiring, and that's awesome that you're so involved with your community.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
Yes. Well, thank you again.
Do you know when our next meeting is?
We do have to plan it. I believe we have three more. Yes. I think it's 4 sessions.
So, yeah.
But we will definitely let you know by around the beginning of next week. Yeah. It'll probably be a much longer meeting than this